Mr. District Attorney, thank you very much. I'm just intrigued by the suggestion you made about the cooperation between law enforcement and the community agencies. Who makes the determination, or who would make the determination of when you should continue with the prosecution and when you should refer it to a social agency? It would seem to me that that's a difficult decision, and that if it were left to the hands of law enforcement, they would probably continue with the prosecution. While on the other hand, if it were left, the decision were with the social service agencies, they would want to intervene right away and solve the problem from the family point of view. How do you put those two conflicting concepts together? Because I like what you're saying, I'm just trying to figure out how do you make it work.
I think, and I apologize if I confused anyone with my remarks. I think what we're all thematically here today suggesting is that there is such great value in data. I wasn't mentioning making the decision or exercising discretion to discontinue a prosecution and make a referral. We do that all the time. We have drug courts. We have a LEAD program here that diverts people even before they're in the system. What I was suggesting, sir, was simply this. Every file in my office, every file, contains an incredible amount of data. When you take a look at collectively what is happening in your community, you see shootings that are taking place on First Street, on Second Judson. There's this incredible volume of violence that is taking place in certain pockets of our community. Yeah. And we use that data for purposes of prosecution, investigation and prosecution. What I just don't understand how, as a society, as a community, we can ever hope to improve, right? If other institutions that are providing services directly into those neighborhoods, into those communities, do not have the access to the same information so that they're trauma informed as they begin to deploy, their resources. And what I'm suggesting is that if we ever hope to change things, turn things around, we do have to make greater investments in infrastructure. We do have to have a process in place that looks at this data, that ensures that we're not compromising information or individuals as we share that data. But we should be looking at perhaps some legislation and some policy considerations that would enable those of us who do live in that silo of tremendous data acquisition, figuring out how we can make that data, we can weaponize that data to cure some of the other issues. Now
you started off by talking about, you said you find a lot of shell casings, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. That goes to one of the points that we wanted to cover in the hearing today.
Yes.
About the ammunition database.
Yes.
Do you think that would be helpful to your efforts to trace guns?
The most effective tool right now that I think exists in law enforcement, and by the way, anyone who sits in a chair like this and hope they don't take an oath and attempts to inform a body like this of the volume of guns in their community really isn't being truthful. The reality is that we have no idea how many illegal weapons are floating in the illicit economy in our community. One of the most effective strategies that I've ever seen is the NIBIN program with the ATF. And the ATF, along with the New York Police Department, they have launched a new initiative called the Crime Gun Intelligence Center. And the Crime Gun Intelligence Center, their specific purpose is shell casings, weapons that are retrieved as relate to crime. Those are immediately tested. Now, NIBIN has been around for decades, but the problem has always been the length of time between submitting a shell casing and the amount of time that report generally comes back to you. It could take months, and that does not have any investigatory value. But now they've been able to reduce that time within a week, which promises incredible investigative value. Now with that bit of information, You will know when this gun was born, when this gun, we know by having it, the gun is no longer on the street, but you'll also know.
But let me ask you, how do you trace the gun? How do you trace the bullet to the gun without a database?
The database is the NIBIN. The NIBIN is the database. The difference, I think, between the database that you're discussing and the database that is in play that is causing, you know, a revolution in our industry is one seeks to track and trace at the beginning, at point of purchase. The other is actually assisting an investigatory lead.
Yeah, but you're only able to get to guns that have been used in a crime before, correct?
Yes.
And so if the gun was not used in a crime previously, you can't trace the bullet to the gun.
No.
So that's the purpose of what we're talking about, is we're trying to give you more data so that you can trace every bullet to the gun. You don't have to rely only on the guns that were previously used in a crime.
The guns, the world that we're in is reactionary. The database that provides information and data about people acquiring bullets, I think, would be incredibly vast. And I will never reject, I will never say no to any data. But in terms of narrowing
You're basically going to the
scope,
question, is it practical, is basically what you're saying.
it's practical. It has value.
Okay, thank you.